Hi there, it's Fabi from The Next Big Rush here, and I am sure you have heard that The Road to Ruin is out today. This is a book by James Rickards, Jim Rickards, as you might know him. And I highly recommend that you go out and get this book ASAP. And when I say ASAP, I actually mean it. The reason is the stuff that Jim Rickards talks about in this book in particular are actually playing out as we speak. And the sooner you get it, read it, and understand what is going on and what he's saying, then the better prepared you will be. Now, the sort of subtitle to this book is The Global Elite's Secret Plan for the Next Financial Crisis. And the teacher in me loves the correct use of the apostrophe here, but on to the actual subject of the book. When somebody like Jim Rickards speaks about the elites, he's not being sort of conspiracy theorist, sort of tinfoil hat and all that stuff. For you to understand why this book was written, you have to understand who Jim Rickards is. And he is actually the guy who was a lawyer working on the whole case of long-term capital when it completely imploded in, I believe, 1998. So he's an insider in the sense that he rubs shoulders with the people in very high circles. And what I mean by that is, the people at the IMF, the people at the Federal Reserve. These are the people that he actually has access to. And the reason why he wrote this book is because he actually has a great ability as a lawyer and economist to actually go through the laws that are being written today and to interpret them and to say, okay, so the way that I see it and what is happening here and sort of the rumors going around, because he sees the whole picture, he is seeing that the elite, so to speak, are opening doorways that will allow certain things to happen with your money that you may not necessarily enjoy. Okay, one of the greatest things that he says here that has passed already is that the government will have the ability to freeze your bank assets. This is really worrying, and to add to that, I can tell you, coming from Brazil, that this has actually already happened in some parts of the world at different business cycles, so to speak. And I remember not very well because I was fairly young, but in, I believe, 1991, there was an asset freeze in Brazil imposed by the government at the time, and businesses did not survive it. Like this was so crazy that all of the people that I knew that had businesses at the time failed. They completely lost everything. And the ones who survived had a lot of cash in their hands, or they had friends in high places, if you know what I mean, and ties with the government. So if you have neither, you should be worried. But even if you have cash, the reason why they will freeze, or they might freeze your assets this time, is to devalue the cash that you have. So it might not even be a good idea to have cash. Something that I really like about this book, it's not just all doom and gloom, like I said, based on what he thinks will happen, but he explores, what could happen according to what is already on the table. We have to remember that world economies work very slowly, Things take years to pan out. And he looks at what's happening right now, what's being allowed right now, and how that paints a picture for the future. At the very end, he wraps up with a few recommendations, so to speak, of what kind of assets you should have. And if you have all your net worth tied up to, say, mining stocks, I would be very concerned. Because as such, the stock market could be frozen at any time, and you could just not have access to your assets. And obviously, when stock markets they shut down, say for war, which has happened before, and then they open again. Everybody wants to sell because they're scared, right? And so even if you have good assets, if you own parts of a good company, you might lose that because people will freak out, and there is nothing like people trying to get out of a position. It will completely destroy a decent company. I highly recommend this book, The Road to Ruin, and like I said, stuff is happening right now that will affect your future. This book has so much great information. It talks about world taxation, world money, and also how people are in the background working towards basically stealing all the stuff that you have worked very hard to build. This is a must-have. It really is a must-have. You might have heard of India and how they're in the name of, protection against corruption, which is something nobody will ever go against, because, who's to stand up and say, hey, we shouldn't have this measure against corruption? I mean, it makes you sound bad, right? So they are getting rid and renewing their highest denomination currency bills. And they're talking about actually banning buying gold in India. That's the rumor that's going on right now, which is unbelievable for the Indian culture, especially if you know anything about India. And this is all in the works. This is already happening. This is not something that could only happen in India or in Brazil or in Cyprus, such as the asset freeze, or in Greece. This is something that could happen anywhere. With Trump in power, I don't know if this will accelerate, decelerate, but the truth is, with at least $20 trillion in debt, there is not much that the USA can do in order to stop this sort of collapse from happening. So go out, get it right now. Be in a hurry to get this book. I will post the links down here. I get no commission from talking about it. The only thing I got out of it was the book itself. But it's really for your own benefit. And I think that if you care about your net worth and your assets, you care about taking care of your family, you should actually go out and devour this book immediately. Highly recommended. All right, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.